Welcome, everyone. I have the pleasure to introduce our last topic of the day, where AgTech meets FinTech. In this conversation, Maurits Lancee will make a presentation. Maurits is an investor working for Rabo Frontier Ventures, which is the corporate venture capital arm of Rabobank, which is the largest worldwide food and agri bank in the world. Maurits has an IT background. Before joining Rabobank, he studied business information management at the Erasmus University, and he has expertise in e-commerce, fintech, and agricultural lending. By the way, it's almost midnight in Netherlands, so let's take a last sip of your coffee and take it from here. Thank you for being with us.
Sure. Thank you very much, Alberto. It's actually very late here. So I'm based here in the Netherlands, so it's actually close to midnight. But really happy to be part of this conference. I hope everything works out that everybody can see my screen here. And let me kick off right away. So my name is Maurits Lancee. I work for Rabo Frontier Ventures, the corporate venture capital arm of Rabobank. We're a 150 million fund. We invest in fintech companies and in AgTech companies, typically Series B onwards. As I said, I'm based here in the Netherlands. We have a worldwide scope, and I run the AgTech side of our business together with the head of our fund, Harry Vollard. So today I would like to discuss where AgTech meets fintech. So we see a lot happening in the AgTech space. We see a lot of AgTech lending ventures, but also a lot of propositions that have a financial service angle there. And I would like to discuss what kind of developments we see and what kind of opportunities are arising in that field. So moving forward, might be good to briefly touch upon what Rabobank where Rabobank is active. So Rabobank is one of the largest food and agri banks worldwide. So what we do is we provide financing throughout the food and ag value chain. So we service large processors, distributors, and large retailers by providing them with credit lines, and financial products. And one of the businesses that we have is also servicing very large farmers. So as you can see here, 75,000 farmers, which we service globally by around 1,000 relationship managers. That's typically in North America, South America, Australia, New Zealand, and in the Netherlands. And this model we have applied for many years now, and is one of the key businesses of the Rabobank. When we talk about large farmers, I was actually in Australia, where we discussed one of the farmers that they had, and this farmer actually owns more farmland than the entire surface of the Netherlands. And we actually live there with 17 million people. So you can imagine how large these farmers are. And the reason why Rabobank is able to service and target these large farmers is due to it being economically viable to have these large credit facilities and being able to do that with a relatively high labor-intensive way of servicing these customers. But that begs the question, are there opportunities arising in that AgTech space where we can service these customers, but potentially also these medium or small size farmers as well? So as I explained, we're a fund that also invests in fintech. In the Netherlands, we're an all-finance bank. And like you probably all know, in banking, there has been a lot of transformation and disruption happening over the last couple of years. And what we have learned from the fintech space is that disruption will actually come from multiple directions. So maybe touch upon a couple of those, which maybe not necessarily everybody would know where or could predict that this would be coming from. So the first one is AgTech, which is a large Dutch company. What it does, it's a payment service aggregator in a sense. So they're aggregating all these kind of payment services and providing them to make payments via digital e-commerce platforms. So what AgTech actually does by collecting all these payment services, it also enables companies to start providing after-pay solutions. And these after-pay solutions offered via these e-commerce websites are actually disrupting the way of how consumers are actually using their credit. So it's actually disrupting the credit line business that most of the banks actually have. The second example I would like to present is the Robinhood case. So Robinhood is a wealth management app. And Robinhood started out on targeting the underserved customers, which are the millennials, helping them with actually starting to build out a portfolio and doing some index investing to start saving up for the future and start doing some wealth management investment there. So, but with the company further professionalizing, is actually they're also able to start servicing the wealthy individual customers of these banks. And that's due to them professionalizing even further, but now they're actually targeting the majority of these wealthy individuals and servicing them in a far more effective and cost-effective and more digital way. And the last one, of course, Ant Financial, one of the largest companies today, which was the founder of WeChat, which is one of the largest social media apps in China. And this social media app has generated a large marketplace in which all kinds of services are being offered, including financial services. So they really became kind of the biggest distribution channel for financial service providers, not only the incumbents, but also the new ones. So these kind of angles coming from payment solutions, wealth management, from social media apps, are all these kind of directions that are actually targeting and disrupting the financial service business. So why is that relevant to us? So focusing once again on that AgTech space, it's good to make a comparison between the sheer sizes. So when we look at the FinTech space, it's almost 10 times larger actually than AgTech when you compare it from capital being invested into it, but also the sheer number of companies. So what I did is I made a small comparison. When we look at venture capital backed ventures with, let's say, raise more capital than 500K, we see that there are over 500 AgTech companies active then. In the FinTech, we're talking about over 4,000 already being backed with around 130 billion of venture capital money. So in that sense, what we truly see there and what the big difference is there is that in FinTech, there is still a large opportunity for the bank because it really generated new business models that could be relevant for our bank, but also it created new distribution channels, which the bank is actually executing on right now. From an AgTech perspective, the market is relatively young. It's very immature in a sense, but still very relevant for us as a bank. So that's why we want to be at the forefront, because the bank truly believes that innovation and disruption will probably come not necessarily only from traditional players, but mostly from market-led opportunities, entrepreneurs building out the best and using the latest technology to really capture and create new markets and servicing those customers. So moving more into that AgTech space. So what a real driver of these AgTech improvements are coming through is due to the digitalization throughout food and ag value chain. So what we see happening is all across from upstream to downstream. We see farm input companies using the latest technology to create software models in order to improve their products that they're servicing these customers through. We see farmers using more and more machinery, generating vast amounts of new data, but also the adoption of IoT, hardware sensors, satellite imagery, all these kinds of new technologies that are being offered to these customers. We see it in trade and exports, for example, logistics platforms that are really ensuring that the best and most optimal route for logistics are being delivered on. Processing plants that are digitalizing their processes, but also really trying to understand where on the demand and the supply side on which they are actually active on, and trying to create more transparency up and downstream of this value chain. And the last part, the retailers, which we see them starting to service their customers via apps, via websites, but also you see disruptive models where food delivery is actually taking over, and there are new ways of servicing their customers there. So when we look at that AgTech market, there are some segments which we believe are truly relevant for us, and that's where we build our thesis on and where we place these investments in. And thinking about the bank really is becoming a data company there. So we believe that we also need to be looking at the AgTech market for those companies that are aligning with that ambition to becoming that data company. So the criteria that we use while looking at that AgTech landscape, which are relevant to us, it needs to be closely related to financial services. Maybe it might be a proposition that is focusing on providing financing right away, but it could also be an angle that's coming from a different direction, and we'll get into that later. It needs to be a software solution because we truly believe that scaling a business requires you require to scale a business, but also to allow you to bring that to different geographies because we're a worldwide company. It needs to be a platform in the sense of bringing demand and supply together, and it needs to be fueled by data. So when we look at these kind of segments, I just want to touch upon a couple of those and explain a little bit more into depth why they might be of relevance for us and what kind of opportunities are arising there. So one of the segments that is, of course, the most logical one in that sense is agri-finance ventures. So the agri-finance segment that we look at. And what these ventures are actually doing is they're servicing underserved customers. So that could be due to these farmers not being serviced due to their sheer size. So they might not be economically viable to be serviced via local banks. They could either have not enough collateral to be used for the financing means, or they could just have not enough financial footprint because they're not digitally as active, or they don't exist that long already. So those could be the underserved customers that they could service with their new solutions or the propositions that they're creating. So if we break that down, we see three kinds of products emerging there where ventures are targeting and providing financing through. The first one is ag inputs lending. So what we typically see there is ag inputs are seed, nutrition, and crop protection. That is a large part of the cost that a farmer would make. And providing financing there typically happens via local merchants, so local retailers and local stores there. And you see that the relationship between these retailers and their customers is actually enabling them to create new credit models based on behavior, but also additional data sources to help them provide a fast and a digital way, creating a risk model and servicing these customers directly. We also see working capital lending. That's kind of an invoice finance business where you use the invoices of these off-takers or either their orders and try to use that as a form of collateral to provide the financing against. And the last one is machinery lending. It's more of a sense of creating or being able to leverage the network that these local dealers already have and try to create ways to provide financing for the machinery being used on the farmlands. Okay, so the second segment that we believe is of relevance, and there's a financial angle there, is agricultural e-commerce. And agricultural e-commerce
All right, sorry about that. We lost Maurits, and we will try to get him back as soon as possible. Just as a message, the co-founder of Produce Pay will be speaking in a couple of minutes. So, hi there, let me make sure he's back. Okay. Yeah, Houston, we have a problem. Exactly. So he's getting connected right now. We'll see. Um, okay, Maurits, it seems that you are logged in the session, but I need you to accept my invitation so you can join the presentation again. At least he is looking me. Maurits, hold on, we are waiting him to reestablish the connection. So as a backup plan, I saw some other people from Rabo Frontier Ventures. If someone wants to jump in and keep the presentation, I have it and we can still projecting. Just write on the chat and I invite you to present. Yeah, someone mentioned that my little son was crying on the background. He already went away to the second floor. So hopefully we can continue without extra noise. All right. I don't know. Totally lost him. Maurits, can you write on the chat if you are also connected to be sure that it's a problem of you joining me? If you can write into the chat box, please. All right. Well, we will wait for 2 more minutes to see if we can have him back. If not, we will continue with the next panel in 5 minutes. That will be two startups that are going to talk precisely about FinTech for AgTech. One of them is Agrio, which is originally from Brazil, and the other one is Produce Pay that was just mentioned by Maurits. Yeah, I'm reading that some people from the public really liked the presentation. You know, we worked prior to going online, but sometimes it's impossible to predict this type of problems. So for today, we will continue with the schedule as expected, and I will try to work with him to finish this conversation, which was certainly very interesting. I will try one last time, and if not, we will be moving into, I will stop this presentation, and in 3 more minutes, we will start launching the startup presentation. Yeah, Clifton and Gabriela really like the presentation. I'm really sorry about this. All right, let's see. It says accepted and connecting. Maybe Maurits can finish delivering his great presentation to his fans. All right, no, definitely not jumping. It says accepted and connecting. All right, sorry about this. We will resume in 5 minutes with the startup pitch, and I will personally figure out how to reschedule this presentation in the coming days. Thank you for your understanding, and sorry for this. Bye.